A few hours before the 7th National Opposition protest, Prime Minister Rama has written the 4th public letter directed to the opposition leader, Luzin Basha, asking to sit down at the table to dialogue. The opposition protest warned today that it has added state security measures, while the main buildings, such as the Prime Ministry, Interior Ministry, and the Assembly, are surrounded by iron fences and the broken cameras have been restored. The Interior Ministry published the final voter list for the local elections of this year, and from the data generated by the General Directorate of Civil Statuses, there are 3,536,015 Albanian citizens with the right to vote. It is 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 25th of May, 2019. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to RTV Ora's English edition. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news, translated into English. Up first tonight, just a few hours before the next national opposition protest, Prime Minister Rama addressed the 4th public letter to the Democratic Party chair, Luzin Basha, where he remained determined not to change the date of the election or issue his resignation. In his letter, Prime Minister Rama re-invites the Democratic Party chair, Basha, to a dialogue, but makes it clear that he will not resign from his post as Prime Minister, stating, "Even today, you should not expect my resignation for one simple reason. I have not been chosen by you, nor do I work for you, nor can I betray those who have chosen me and break that obligation contract with them, which is the majority of Albanians, even though you refuse to submit the will of the majority and fear the elections and justice. Along with my resignation, you cannot forget that you simply cannot subjugate the majority by imposing the cancellation of the June 30th elections, which I did not set, but the Constitution of the Republic of Albania set. The elections of June 30th are not in my hands, but in the hands of the Albanian people." Rama listed a few reasons for this decision, the most important being that he won't break the contract that he signed with Albanian citizens. Rama starts his letter by explaining that their purpose isn't just a make-believe justification of an appeal, but on the contrary, it is an offer to find a solution for the political crisis. Rama wrote that the decision not to enter into the elections comes as a result of the fear that many in the opposition have of losing the election, while stressing that this will ultimately bring the complete exit of the Democratic Party from the electoral system. In the end, the Prime Minister then invited DP Chair to accept his offer to sit at the table so they could finally start a dialogue without wasting any more time, without conditions, so that the political crisis that has unfolded in the country can soon be resolved. And next up tonight, there are a total of 1,500 police officers engaged in the protest called by the opposition today. The protest organizers have informed that the protest will last from 7 p.m. tonight until midnight tonight, and it will be a march protest through the whole capital. But in the official response issued by the police, it is required that the protest be centered only along the main boulevard, as it interferes with the normal activities of non-protesting citizens. Meanwhile, it is learned that the police are wary of potential violent incidents or scenarios, and therefore, for this reason, the measure plan, designated by those in blue uniforms, is more reinforced than during the recent protests that have been conducted. The police have been on alert since Friday evening, as well as Renea's forces and the Rapid Intervention Forces. On the other hand, the traffic police will block and deviate the circulation in all axes that lead to Skanderbeg Square and to the Martyrs of the Nation Boulevard. Improved measures have also been taken in security infrastructure, where at each strategic point, high security cameras have been set up, replacing those which were broken in previous protests. Moving on now, the Interior Ministry published the final voter list for the local elections this year. From the data generated by the General Directorate of Civil Status, there are 3,536,015 Albanian citizens with the right to vote. From the total number, according to the ministry, 132,788 voters will vote for the first time, while in terms of gender, 51% of the voters are male and 49% are female. The Interior Ministry said that the final voters list has improvements in relationship to past elections, both for the 2015 local government and parliamentary elections in 2017. In the updated list, duplications in over 100-year-old voters have been removed, as well as the names of individuals serving prison sentences in accordance with the law's definition on the framework of decriminalization. The Interior Ministry emphasized that the process of drafting the final voter list was conducted under the supervision of CEC technical audits, who had full access to each stage of the process. The Interior Ministry explains that the process of drafting the voters list has started in accordance with the decree by the President on setting the election date for the local government authorities. The improvement of weather conditions has reactivated clandestine attempts to use Albania as a country where migrants will pass on to the European Union. On the border, however, many Middle Eastern migrants who pass through Albania towards the European Union countries are now facing reinforced measures as a result of the Frontex mission. After 24 immigrants were banned on Friday morning, 3 more individuals were captured overnight at the Green border in Kapshtica. Sources say that they were identified by thermal camera controls carried out in the designated areas of access points for illegal immigrants in the district of Korça. The patrols of joint teams of Frontex officers, in addition to Albanian Border Patrol, have been centered in Trestnik. The individuals have issued refugee declarations and, as such, will be transported to the Asylum Seeker Center in Tirana. If they do not apply for asylum, they will return to Greece on the basis of agreements to the previous country from which they entered the Albanian territory. 50 Frontex officers settled on Tuesday in Kakavia and Kapshtica with the aim of halting immigrants and criminal activities at the border between Albania and Greece. Many of Albania's municipalities continue to be burdened by significant debts to companies, mainly to water supply and OSHE. The report by the Ministry of Finance shows that in total, the stock of obligations amounts to 6.8 billion lek. Even though it has decreased by 2.4 billion compared to the 2017 year, the municipal debts are still remaining high. Tendencies show that over 3 years, the major municipalities have significantly reduced their obligations, while small municipalities have significantly increased them by continuing not to pay for the services they receive. Tirana has significantly reduced its obligations during the last 3 years, as well as the municipalities of Elbasan, Fier, Durrës, and Berat. Meanwhile, some of the small municipalities have almost doubled their obligations, those being Mirdita, Kamza, Bulqiza, Dibra, and Finic. But beyond the high obligations, local government units are conditioned not to utilize any tenders during the month of June. There is an increase in the number of tenders in the Public Procurement Agency during the last few days. The head of the Association of Municipalities, Agron Hajimali, says that despite the end of the mandate, the municipalities should continue their investments. Even the mayor of Leja, Fran Frokai, is against the suspension of tenders, but he argues that this decision does not hinder the institution he leads to realize the foreseen investments, as most of them have been procured. From June 1st to June 30th, all municipalities around the country will not be able to utilize any large value procurement. And finally tonight, the energy crisis that has affected the country in the beginning months of the year has been confirmed by the official data of Insta. In a recent published report, it is noted that electricity production during January through March decreased by more than half compared to the same period of time in the previous year. As a result, the country is forced to buy more electricity, creating a high cost for finances in the country, expenses which total over 110 million euros. The decline in electricity production in the first quarter of 2019 has contributed to the increase of gross electricity imports. But at a time when the country is suffering from decreased energy output and hydropower depends entirely on rainfall, one solution could be the production of small hydropower plants and other renewable energy sources. But the infrastructure minister, Belinda Baluku, blocked these projects with an unprecedented decision, creating bureaucratic hurdles for renewable energy producers as well. Insta data indicates that energy production from private hydropower carries the burden of fulfilling the needs of the entire country. Energy production in the first months was realized by public hydropower plants at 53.6% and private and concessional hydropower plants at 46.1%. The situation is even more difficult at a time when electricity consumption increases year after year. According to Insta, the use of electricity by consumers in the first quarter of 2019 increased by 2.8% compared to the first quarter of 2018. The biggest impact on increasing electricity usage by consumers has been provided by household customers. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you so much for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of RTV Ora, thank you and have a wonderful weekend.